Howdy, howdy.
Howdy, howdy. We got Joseph in the shop. Got some White Claws, too.
How's it going, Christian?
Pretty good. We just got here. We were chilling before, having some drinks.
It was lovely.
It was very lovely. You were telling me about skating, how you love that it's your passion.
I mean, it's one of my passions.
Oh, okay.
I seem to have too many.
Oh, yeah?
That's the problem with life.
Yeah, I met you about, October. It's October.
Yeah, I just walked in here one day. Well, oh, yeah. What was I doing?
I think you bought, a Tupac shirt, right?
It was an Eazy-E shirt.
Eazy-E.
Yeah,
there we
yeah,
go.
yeah. I love
Are you
that
rocking
guy.
that?
Yeah, I wore that when I actually had, like my longest comedy performance on stage.
How'd that go?
It went great. Yeah, super, super happy about all of that. Oh, there we go.
That sounds good, right?
I kind of, I wasn't close to the microphone maybe as
You
close
just
as
pull
I
it
should
up
have
if you
been.
want.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Just lean back and chill.
But
I remember you telling me about that. How'd that go? It was like your big
it went
show.
well. Like, I've definitely, bombed mostly in comedy
Okay.
because I'm a fresh,
Yeah.
stand-up comic, and I'm just learning from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But, that was, for sure one of the better shows. I felt good about that one when I got off stage. I was like, wow, that's interesting. I did it.
I've always
I
wanted
got
to do
there.
comedy.
How
How does
it
it feel?
Oh my gosh, it's an in-the-moment thing, and that's not even something I'm coming up with. That's something I've heard a lot of established comics say.
Okay.
You have to really be totally present.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that I really enjoy about it.
I think for comedy, I've never done it. So I'm speaking out of my ass, but a big thing about people is having that validation. So is it when people start laughing, it's oh, I'm doing something right, Or what do you think it's so satisfying about making people laugh?
Well, I think that if you focus on that too much, you lose the original reason why you started to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that you have to understand when it's working and when it's not. So I think that I enjoy that because it's so unknown to me. Mm-hmm. So it draws me. Because it is an art form, and people perfect it over long periods of time, live, in front of many different types of audiences, and that's a lot. That's quite unique, You can't really find something like that anywhere else,
mm-hmm.
in my opinion. And it's a very, connection-based, human experience kind of situation. So maybe there's a little bit of that draws me to it, too. But
yeah, you have to be, brave, too, because not only does it feel good, there's obviously a lot of pros to it, but then there's a lot of cons as well, because if you fail, not fail, if you bomb, there's the word, then it must feel fuck.
It's the worst.
Yeah, right?
Especially when you're doing it in front of your friends, or your friends have you come do a quick 10 minutes in between their set, and you just you don't end up doing the 10 minutes, and you get off stage, you're oh my gosh, I want to not be here right now, but I also want to talk to a couple people before I leave.
No, I could only imagine what it feels
Oh my
like.
gosh. It's traumatizing.
Is it burning all over your body? It's
oh my gosh. It's bad. It's bad, but it's good. It's like skating.
Yeah.
There's the similarity there, because I love pushing myself and trying to be better at. Believe me, I get it's like a children's sport. I get that.
Skating? No, not at all.
Oh my God. I ran into my old boss from the military up in Oregon.
Oh, you were in the military?
I was.
Oh shit, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Damn,
that's good.
crazy.
I'm glad you had no idea.
Well, we only talked for that day. We talked for I think it was 30, 40 minutes. You came in and we were just vibing. We were just talking. And then we were supposed to hang out. Didn't happen. And then I just hit you up randomly, yo, let's do a podcast. So it's been a few months. So we never really got deep about what's up with us.
it's exciting that this is the moment where we
Hell
can do
yeah.
that.
Hell
Like
yeah.
that's great, and I think there's a lot of places where this could like go because I was in the military. That was wild.
Yeah. Which branch?
I was in the Coast Guard, obviously. Like if you were to talk to anyone in the military, they'd be like, yeah, that guy was barely in the military and he was for sure in the Coast Guard. I bet you'd get that a lot.
Yeah.
But no, I was totally in the military and I really did, get involved when I was in and get super qualified and just like really embrace what I was doing because, I wasn't that's what I was doing at that point in my life. So, I was up in Oregon, in Depot Bay, Oregon, and I lived in this, in like the weirdest, not weirdest, but like the smallest little community that was just blessed by, the Pacific Northwest, like beautiful weather, constant gloom all the time.
Oh.
It was dark. Like, this place had a restaurant called Gracie's Sea Hag, which I always found so fascinating. And there was a photo of Robin Williams in there just hanging out. And so it was very like...
Interesting.
I would have never known Depot Bay existed if I hadn't gone in the military.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy I know about it. And there's a lot of energy out there. The people that live there, I still kind of stay in touch with a few of them. And they always talk or mention about this like really kind of healing kind of situation that happens while you live out there. A lot of people, like their doctors tell them, hey, you should move to certain areas. And one of them happens to be that particular area of the coast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's so many like beautiful things like hidden behind like the folds of life. Like, if you drive up the 5 freeway, like most of it, like the California part,
Yeah.
is like a vacuum. Like, and then you're just like time traveling by like, all like the hilly portion of it.
Yeah.
Like almost like the part after, or like kind of Fresno area, after the Grapevine.
Oh, okay. I think so. I just know like once you get out of LA. So
Yeah,
once you're in
you run down
Bakersfield-
the back of that
Yeah,
hill.
those big ass
That's
hills.
the Grapevine.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you're shooting up the 5 and you're time
Bakersfield,
traveling.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
nothing out there
Nothing.
except cows. It smells bad every few miles.
Yeah.
And you're hauling ass.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like
Unless
everyone's
there's, like, an accident.
mobbing.
Yeah, unless it was like an accident. I was like stuck in like 4-hour traffic one time just to go like 20 miles because there was an accident.
Because that's the only road.
Yeah, 2
And
lanes and you're fucked if there's an accident.
it's wild. But then you get to Oregon and you're like, what is this place? I had a really weird thing happen on my drive to Oregon this last time I did it, actually. Should I talk about it?
Yeah, do it. What happened?
Nah, I'm good. I don't want to talk about
No?
it.
Okay.
No, I totally want to talk
Oh,
about
okay.
it. So, it's wild. So, while I was living up there, I happened to come across this, like, little rock, and it was a piece of tiger's eye.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No idea.
I was not familiar with it prior to, coming across it in person, so I totally understand there. But it was this really beautiful little rock. I actually carry it in my wallet.
Oh, let's see it.
Yeah, I have it on me.
Yeah, let's see.
It's freaking...
Am I gonna get cursed for touching it?
No, I don't think so. But check it out. It's all about like looking through it. You got to look through it
Okay.
with the light.
Wait, you found that on the floor?
No, I found it at some little...
Like woke shop?
It was on some table in front of me somewhere, and I bought it from a nice man.
It spoke to you.
You see it? You looking through that thing?
Oh, can I not touch it?
Oh, you can touch it.
Okay, let me see it.
Yeah, but look through it. I mean, I don't know. Can you touch it?
Okay. What am I supposed to be looking at?
There's a part of it that is like clear
Yeah.
and kind of looks like a sky, and then there's a part of it that
Looks like a mountain.
it looks like a mountain. I
Okay.
didn't even have to tell you.
Yeah. I
Which
see it.
proves that it does in fact look like a mountain, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. A lot of weird stuff with this little guy.
Okay. What happened?
So I originally, to be honest with you, don't remember where I got it, but I know I got it in Oregon.
Okay.
And I know I bought it at some. I used to hit
Are
like
you gatekeeping Tiger's Eye?
no.
Oh.
but maybe. No, but I used to love like hitting estate sales and garage sales. One time I found a newspaper from the day John F. Kennedy got assassinated.
Oh, that's sick. Did you keep it?
Yeah, I have it.
That's worth something.
Yeah, it's not even worth much, but I found it inside of a JFK novel, just sitting in front of this older lady's home, and she was having a garage sale, and I was like, oh, I'll buy this book, and I opened it up, and there's a
so
newspaper
sick.
from the day. I believe it was a certain day in November.
Did it like announce he died, or was it?
It
just...
says it on the front of the
That's
paper.
so
Something
sick.
in a
that lady
frame.
is probably like, "Where's the goddamn newspaper?
I hope not. I hope
Where's
not.
that man with the beautiful mustache?"
Thank you. Jeez. Yeah, I get a lot of guys' attention from this thing. It's awesome. It's lovely. That's why I have it.
There you go.
But like,
So the Tiger Eye.
yeah, dude, I was getting there. I was getting back to this thing, which I carry in my wallet now.
Yeah.
But so I was driving up to Oregon recently, and sometimes I kind of carry this in my hand while I'm driving, I guess, or maybe not even sometimes, but I was then. And it just happened to be, it was a 14.5-hour drive. I did it in one take.
Fuck. Yeah.
Wild. But totally worth it. Like, it's so, I had a very unique timing structure to when I left and when I arrived, but
Were
it
you
actually,
hallucinating?
no, I was not hallucinating, but I was driving so long that perhaps I was hallucinating.
Okay. Because I did a similar drive, and I was like straight up almost hallucinating.
Wow.
From Oregon to.
See, it's the energy.
Yeah.
It's the energy I think that I was referencing prior, but maybe I was hallucinating. No, I felt very there.
What happened? Did you see God?
I didn't see God, but you were right about those things making you burp.
I know, right? Do you feel it at all? I feel
Feel
good.
what? The beer? What
The
do you?
surge in the beer.
Ugh, I feel it.
You fucked up?
I feel it. Oh my gosh. No. I had the thing in my hand, and then I looked up. And the timing on this was so impeccable, it blew my mind.
Okay.
I looked up at the top left part of my windshield on my vehicle, and I swear I saw the same rock, the same mountain that you just kind of guessed
Okay.
in my line of sight.
Yeah.
And I did like a double take. I went from rock to mountain to rock to mountain. And it was undeniably like so spitting.
Exact.
But I was like, what?
Did you like line it up with the rock?
I kept going. I kept chugging.
Ah.
And I know it was right around or kind of Shasta Lake,
Yeah. Okay.
which has like Mount Shasta up. Like if you're looking to your right, you'll see Mount Shasta.
If you're going north.
If you're headed north on the I-5. And to the left, right after it was kind of right in that area, right after you cross like the major bridge going across Shasta Lake, the dehydrated lake. That thing is empty. It's barely a lake anymore. It's crazy. Like, I've done that drive so many times. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I've watched it like go down.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Like when my dad was like a little boy, he used to go there and he said it was full.
Damn.
And that thing is almost dry. There are boats literally posted up on the side of that thing.
Just a dried up lake. Just chilling.
It's not even a lake anymore. It's like
Yeah.
the Shasta.
It's like puddles.
It's a red like hole
Oh, fuck.
with a bridge over it.
Yeah.
But that rock is there. Yeah, kind of wild. And then I went and got a tattoo over in Portland from that artist that I was talking to you about earlier. Actually, Dennis PDX. He was super nice. His name's Eddie. He's an amazing guy. And I was talking to him about the tiger's eye. Like I just mentioned it to you. And he's like, oh, no way. My brother carries tiger's eye in his pocket too. But when I started carrying it in my pocket, nobody told me, hey, remember how you were like, hey, you were gatekeeping about tiger's eye? No. I just kind of one day was like, I used to carry like an old hook from a fish I caught back in the day in my pocket.
Yeah.
And then I lost it, unfortunately. It was a really cool little token. And I feel like it always like kept me grounded a little bit in a weird way. And then I was like, wow, this tiger's eye is going to do that same thing.
Yeah.
But now I'm learning all this stuff about tiger's eye, but it's just teaching me the rock.
Okay. So it's a thing. You carry tiger's eye?
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. But I mean, besides you, like in general?
My friend's buddy does it too.
Huh. It's interesting.
But nobody told me about it.
Yeah.
It might be.
Do you believe in like what is it, like those angel numbers and like what is it called? That stuff. The astrology?
Does it have to do with sacred geometry, perhaps?
I don't know. I met this chick once, and
Astrology's big
yeah,
for certain people.
she was into all that stuff and ended up being a little cray, like telling me that she heard voices, her spirit guides, and I was like, ooh, okay, yeah, I gotta draw the line here. Is that like, not that something's wrong with that, but like, do you go into that stuff like angel
Is there
numbers?
not something wrong with that?
I don't know if you're into it. I mean, people listening, they might be into it.
Yeah, I mean,
Because like to me, it was like, because she was telling me that like there's a lot of like weird coincidences, right? And
Okay.
there has been a lot of weird coincidences. Like you're thinking of someone and they call you, or like you see a number, you keep seeing a repeating number or something. You know, like this weird stuff that
Right.
has. I can't say for myself that has happened. But I don't like immediately subscribe to like that whole notion of like, yo, like angel numbered spirits guides. I'm just like, oh, it's just a coincidence. But some people do like see it and then they start studying it and they start seeing it more and more. And then they're like, oh, let me get into it. So,
right. Where's the line of like when you're looking for that stuff and you're just kind of connecting dots that aren't really there versus when that stuff is actually occurring?
so yeah, no, I wouldn't know. See,
And I'm not saying I disagree with it, by the way.
That's the thing.
That's just the question that did pop into my head while I was
So for
listening.
me, as an outsider, it was right when she said, I'm hearing voices. And I was like, oh, okay. But that's me as an outsider. Like, I haven't, like, put the time in to, like, look into it, you know? Because I can't immediately disqualify it, you know?
But what is the what do the voices have to do?
So she was telling me that, like, once you get to a certain point, like, you're looking at angel numbers.
Oh,
tarot cards. You do the tarot cards.
Should
like,
we explain to the listeners what angel numbers are? Like, do you have like an idea of what that is?
Yeah, I have an idea, a very vague idea, which actually one of the employees, first episode, Michaela, thank you. She told me that it's basically numbers. I actually forgot. Fuck. They're basically numbers that you see on repeat, or they're like your significant numbers. Actually, let me just look it up. Hold up.
Jamie, could you look that up for us?
I know. I need Jamie.
Oh my God. No.
Angel numbers are repeating number sequences often used as a guide for deeper spiritual exploration.
So what numbers are they?
These sequences can range from 0 to 999, and each has its own distinct meaning and energy.
Oh, so every number from 0 to 999.
Yeah, so
But
I think
1,000?
a lot of LA girls go for 777 though.
What if you're looking at racks all day, which are $1,000, $1,000 pyramids?
Yeah, like who's to say you can't make up your own number? Like
why is 0 to 999? That's so.
Yeah,
that almost makes me unsubscribe from the entirety of this situation.
Yeah, well, I'm promise you that girl was also subscribed to this whole thing.
But 777, that's like unlucky. Lucky.
Is it? I know a lot of people like the sevens, like the lucky number and stuff. You know, they like assign significance to like certain numbers. I know 7 is one, like for God or something.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
7. But why? Like, where does that come from?
I know a guy that just throws like numbers up on his story all the time.
Huh. Maybe he's trying to attract that crowd. I would do the same thing. I'd be like, yo, angel numbers.
He's also really good at like martial arts.
Yeah.
This guy's very centered.
Yeah.
Honestly, a very cool guy, but he's really into the numbers thing. Like he'll throw like 8, 9, 10 license plates a day up on his story.
Whoa.
And he's just like 777. Like he'll do that. Like, oh,
okay, so he sees...
I saw 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and I was.
See, that's what I'm
saying. I was
saying.
kind of viewing the story like.
So
that was his day. He was on the numbers hunt, and honestly, I don't know if that's okay.
Yeah, so for me,
I'm just kidding.
I really don't know what's going on. Like going a little deeper about like God and shit. I have no idea if it's real or not. So like with those stuff, like angel numbers, because I never looked into it, I'm just like, who knows? Maybe there is something there. You know.
That touches base on like the biggest question of all that. Like if we really take it there right now, we might not leave.
Yeah.
But we can.
Sure.
But it's going to be like
Well, what do you think? What do you think? Do you believe in God?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've believed less in the past. I'll tell you that.
Mm.
I've believed less. I went from I was raised Catholic, and then I did like my first communion. Like and those, that's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting, very traditional,
Yeah.
but definitely not Christian. But then going from that to getting to a point where I was like in my maybe like mid-teen years, like 15, 16, and I was just like, I can't really do this anymore. I don't subscribe to it. I don't subscribe to its entirety. Therefore, I can't subscribe to a partial element within it. That was my mindset then. At that age, like I'm talking 14, 15.
Wait, so you're saying there's something specific that you did not agree with, and that because of that you couldn't agree with the whole thing?
Not even agree, but perhaps align. I didn't disagree with it, and I think that if you agree to something, the opposite of agreeing to something would be disagreeing, right? Mm-hmm. So I didn't necessarily disagree.
What was it specifically?
It wasn't one particular thing. It was a few things, and it was just it was a lot with the religion, but also with the byproduct of what the religion caused. That I was just like, is that really necessary, or is that really good? Well, you look at the leader of the Catholics, the Pope, right?
Yeah.
Cruising at the Vatican, which I did go to the Vatican when I was younger.
Oh, damn, that's sick.
Yeah, and that was a whole thing. I was like 13, and
Did he touch you?
Yes.
Oh.
I wish. I wish. There's a part in the Vatican that you walk through.
Yeah.
That's literally just dead popes preserved under glass.
Wow.
Some of them covered in various types of raw earth metals.
I mean, isn't that alone like defeating the whole purpose of
sorry.
What God said, not
Sorry.
idolizing.
Sorry.
Idolizing idols. Why keep them under a glass
And again,
box?
are you trying to disprove religion? Because
No,
I agree with you, because there's a lot of flaws.
Yeah. I am in that sense. Specifically with the Catholic Church in that specific context.
They're for sure idolizing those dead popes
what the
that
heck?
are covered in gold or silver. There's something awfully culty about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That I just can't whoa, this is the epicenter of the entirety of the situation. There's frozen dudes chilling in a little country. It's a little country.
Yeah, it's its own thing.
And they have crazy police officers with clown suits on, and the Pope drives around in a Mercedes.
A Pope-mobile.
And it's got bulletproof glass, and he's doing mass all the time. And by the way, at the St. Peter's Basilica, at the very top of the dome, which is, I believe that's the main worshiping area of the Vatican, or at least it's the church that the public usually goes to. It's the one in the center, the big dome, right? If you're looking at the Vatican from a heads-on perspective.
Yeah.
At the center of that, at the very top, if you're looking from the inside towards the ceiling, there's a little mural that's painted, I believe, by some Michelangelo. Because he did the Sistine Chapel, right? Mm-hmm. I believe it was him. But they have it kind of gated off to where you can't see it. What is that? And also, why is there little things here and there? And, there's a lot of fascinating things about religion. But they also have a lot of, tax money they're writing off every year. Mm-hmm. That really good show, Righteous Gemstones. I love that show. And I don't even get behind any television. I barely watch television, but I did watch
Righteous Gemstones?
Never heard of it. Oh my God.
I'll have to check it out.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, anything with that cast seems to always rock your world, but
well, to take a step back, isn't it interesting that around the world there's people just worshiping deities, or objects? That's as human beings, right? As intelligent people, We can look afar across the ocean or just to our next door neighbor. There's people bowing down to certain things. And then people who are atheists, I mean, I consider myself atheist. I don't know if you do, but like looking at that, I'm just like, huh, that guy's bowing down to that tree. That guy's bowing down to that statue. You know, it's like, what the heck?
I don't consider myself anything quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you start considering yourself something, whether or not it's atheism, because I did originally kind of think like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that still categorizes you in a certain group. Because now, you know, you're in the group of atheists. Because there's like being agnostic is a thing you can be. There's a lot of things.
But that's believing in a higher power, but not a specific higher power. So like for me, like I don't even know what the title would be. It would be just like, I don't know. That's more of my title.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to unsubscribe from anything.
But I mean, at that point, you are subscribing to something because you're in fear of being outcasted. You know, like outcasted from that religion. So if you go to heaven, you're like, I didn't unsubscribe. I was still kind of there. So you can't let me in.
Come on. I mean,
well, anything heaven or any type of afterlife.
What is heaven? You know, I believe we are energy.
Mm-hmm.
That we did appear here, and again, all this like comes from like a deep like old like kind of root in my brain. But I remember Alan Watts talking about death, and I remember that really clearing a lot of things up for me because I remember specifically him saying, you know, life it is quite unique, but when something happens once, like. That's already such a bigger probability than it never happening towards it happening again. You good?
I'm burping so much.
No, it's all, I feel like that's great.
Yeah.
We should record them.
No, that's disgusting. I don't like hearing that shit. But no, I agree. I remember listening to Alan Watts and him saying that like something about like, do you remember before you were born? And then like something about God of like, if you were a God, you could do anything. You were limitless. Wouldn't you just create a world, have billions of people and live through them and like be born, forget that you're a God and just have a really unique experience and then like die and then remember that you're God. And I actually subscribe to that. I think that
you're saying you think you're God.
Fuck yeah. Well, no, not just me. I think everyone's a God.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I love that.
100%.
We are definitely something.
Well, I mean, look, I think it's a cool idea that I can say like, oh yeah, that's fun to think, and I could say I subscribe to it. But in reality, again, it goes back to that basis or that base point of like, I don't know.
You know, it's wild. I know individuals that think that mentality is negative.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing is that we could all have like our own.
No,
thing,
I don't necessarily think that at all. But at all. But I do know individuals that think that is negative. I do know individuals that believe that we should be worshiping things constantly.
Yeah.
That's a different perspective.
Well, no, I just had a podcast with my buddy Don Kaka, and he was telling me that with religion, with God and stuff, and it was really interesting that it makes you stop focusing on like monetary things or idolizing items or ideas and just focusing on the truths that the Bible laid out or the Quran or whatever, you know, that God laid out.
So everyone always mentions how there's a lot of great morals within the Bible if you take the time to read the stories. God also sneaks your way into, in my life at least, he seems to, or it, like whatever that energy is, seems to press your way or his way into your life, in my opinion. And it's like weird. And
Wait, explain that? You mean like people pressing their religion onto?
Not even necessarily, because in my head, God would be the closest thing. It wouldn't necessarily be like Jesus' dad, you know?
Or Jesus' son. Right?
Is it? No, I think God is Jesus' dad.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Come on.
It's been a while for me.
Likewise, they're related.
But it's crazy that it's like from
related.
From such a young age, because I was the same. Like I was Catholic until I was 6, and then I went to Christianity. Not me, my family went into that, so I was dragged along, you know.
Right.
So it's interesting.
Always dragged along,
Yeah,
right? What
you
is
know?
that?
And it sucks because you would think that, like, instead of indoctrinating your kids, it would be more of, well, I can't speak for everyone. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are very cool and they're just like, hey, if you want to come along, you can. This is what I do
Yeah.
as a parent, you know. And I think that's the way to go about it. Instead of like forcing your kid to come along, it's like,
What is that?
Yeah, it's
Because
messed up.
you want the best for your child, but is the best really forcing something upon them?
yeah.
Is that really the best? I don't
But-
think so.
But it is a double like axe sword because, or double whatever.
Double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword.
The old double-edged sword.
Yeah,
That seems to be such a common variable in all of life.
Because in religions, it's like, specifically Christianity, it's like if you don't believe, then your child or that person goes to hell. So why would you let your child go to hell and like burn for eternity? You know what I'm saying? So I could see their points of view of like, wait, I wouldn't want my kid. I'm sure you wouldn't want your parents or your brother or your sister, if you believed in something entirely, you dedicated your life and you know it to be a fact for yourself, to be like, no, I would not let that for my child or for my mom or dad, you know? Like, I wouldn't want someone to kidnap my pops and, like, torture him. I'd be like, fuck, no, you won't. Like, the cartel, let's say, for example. If I knew they were coming after him, I'd be like, no, you cannot go to that place because I know they're going to capture you. You know what I'm saying? So I could see that point of view.
So hell is the cartel's dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
But isn't that, like, awfully, like, coincidental that hell exists and therefore it's like this great way to manipulate a bunch of people? Like, it's a great like, why do we all know that hell is like this burning fiery place where you go to burn for your sins? Like that seems quite, the more we proceed through time the more preposterous that sounds. But again, like,
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
we are all energy. Like, we are all kind of, and I want to hear what you're saying, but I guess I just want to say we're all energy.
Yeah.
And we are all here.
Yeah.
And we all don't, I don't know of anyone, and I don't think you know of anyone that, like, planned this.
Well, actually,
I really don't think anyone planned this situation.
Yeah.
But it's just a thing that we do.
Yeah.
And we try to do it to the best of our ability, but what is that? I mean, we're all just defining words. But you know what's interesting? Because I take classes at a college here in the area, and how come when I'm taking their classes, they like say things that make me feel like my pillars of philosophy are like a bit idiotic? How come, like, sometimes I get like, I'm trying to soak in the knowledge that the professor is telling me, and I'm just like, wait, this is new knowledge, but it's also like disproving my old knowledge quite aggressively.
Yeah, I think
Like what is that? And what is just, there's so many smokestacks blowing smoke around, like, mirrors everywhere. Like, there's so much kind of like gameplay, kind of tomfoolery going on that, like, I wonder how deep does that go? Like, how prevalent is that in my life? How unaware am I of that sort of? Do you get what I'm kind of saying?
Yeah.
How addicted am I to technology? Like, what is this situation that we found ourselves in? Like, what is that?
Well, I think a few points on the first part for sure is, like, I mean, we're obviously in our 20s. So in our 20s...
How old are you? I'm sorry.
26.
Okay, I'm 24.
24, okay.
Yeah.
So, and this always pissed me off when I was, like, 19, 20, is, like, those cocky motherfuckers that always think they know everything. And that's, like, that saying that, like, older people always say is, like, in your 20s, you think you know everything. But, I mean, I'm obviously can be a little stubborn in my thinking, but at the end of the day, I can always, like, take a step back and be like, all right, what am I actually thinking? And I think that's a big thing about taking classes, is that it makes you take a step back and be like, okay, the professor's saying like, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. And I think that's good. I think it's good. But I think it's also good to be stubborn in your ways in a sense and really explore your own ideas because, you know, you don't know what that system is putting down your throat. You know what I'm saying?
You don't know what else they're shoving down that handful of
So
knowledge.
I think it's a good balance of both being self-aware of what people or of yourself, right? I think that's very important, especially in your 20s, because we're dumb. Like we're not even developed until we're like 26, you know.
25 I think is the last year.
Shit. Yeah, right. And there's a difference. I'm telling you, last year I felt the difference. It was crazy.
I turned 25 this year.
Yeah.
And I've quite
Do you feel different?
Oh my gosh.
Right?
It's scary.
Yeah.
I look back on my past self and I cringe.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. Yeah.
Over and over again through these different stages, and I wonder. I question I question myself a lot. I'm like, what? What was that?
Exactly.
But life is so it's such a you see I seem to keep stumbling across this, you know, idea that you attract what you don't focus on.
You attract what you don't focus on. Okay.
Like so check it out. Joshua Turner, he was actually just on Joe Rogan the other day.
What is he? Who is he?
So he was like apparently like pretty big in law enforcement, big archer, big hunter.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But that's almost besides the point. I think the reason why he was even on that podcast, from what I derived, was because he was talking about this theory where you can keep yourself in the moment during the activity of archery or shooting. That's a very particular, unique activity, and you can actually outperform other individuals by keeping yourself in the moment and varying between, I don't know if you're familiar with open loop or closed loop processing with your brain. I'm not too super familiar with it, but one has to do with like more of an autopilot mode, you know? Yeah, so for example,
like flow state. Yeah,
exactly. So if you're skateboarding and you're hitting a line for the first time, it's pretty open loop. Like I might be getting them mixed up, but it's open loop and closed loop.
Yeah.
And one of them has to do with like thinking about what you're doing. The other one has to do with being in a flow state.
Yeah.
And he talks about how archery and shooting is greatly affected by keeping yourself like in the moment of the situation by like saying something, reciting something to your head, in your head over and over again. Now, I was in the Coast Guard, right? And I was law enforcement qualified. So I was a fully qualified boarding team member, and I was qualified with a handgun. While I was doing that course back in Oregon, I remember my instructor telling me, say, squeeze, 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 while you're pulling the trigger of your pistol. It was a P226 Sig Sauer, P226 Sig Sauer. And I never understood what he meant by that, but I knew he was kind of a wise guy. He knew, like he was a very like knowledgeable older buck in the Coast Guard. I'll leave his name anonymous, but like we even like butt heads once. But he was like almost like father figure-esque, you know, fully qualified, and he was showing me like how to do things correctly. But this system of thinking apparently is able to keep you in the moment, and it allows you in certain situations to succeed over worry about what you're doing and fail, you know, or start having like a negative dialogue in your head, and that kind of will start causing a domino effect that will cause you to stumble in the moment. And that's a huge deal. Now, the way he backs this crazy concept is by he kind of talked about his son a bunch, who is like the undefeated like archery champion of the world, is basically what he described. Like
your instructor or the podcast
this is Joshua Turner's son.
Okay.
He talked about his son, and he talked about how he is just blowing records out of the water in archery as a 15, 16-year-old.
Nice.
And guess who raised him? This Joshua Turner cat,
Yeah.
who used this theory that he wrote a book about, and I don't remember the book and all that stuff, but he did say he was like smoking 60 pennies at 20 yards in a row.
Damn.
Doing archery, which is insane. And he did that 2 years in a row. Like he blew like nobody had ever done that before. So they were discussing how that could be kind of like a theory that connects to other parts of your life. And then even when I was listening to the podcast, I thought about pool right away because I do enjoy playing pool quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And right when I was thinking about it, Joe Rogan was like, "Oh, in pool, it relates." I was like, "All right, whatever." Yeah, I was like, "Perfect." But that's so true. Like, like, do you play pool? Or are you like a pool guy?
Not really.
Okay.
I played for fun.
It's enjoyable, and it's like something that like really is affected by your mental state, and I think that there's a beauty in that. So when you're like really stepping up to take a difficult shot, from what they were saying, you got to stay in the moment or else you're going to mess that shot up. And that's something that I didn't really put like verbiage to in my past, but it's a fact. You have to be in the moment. You can't be like thinking about how you're going to do during that shot. You have to be shooting the shot. And that's a different mindset. And it's such a beautiful thing that we can even conceptualize that. Mm-hmm. Because it's a different way to operate. It's a different way to intake whatever this thing that we are all experiencing at random is.
And how do you think we can apply that to different aspects of our life?
I mean, in any situation where you should be in the moment, like, for example, with stand-up comedy, you got to be firing jokes off in the moment, and you have to be thinking about what you're saying. And that's something they also referenced in that podcast, but that's something that kind of resonated with me because I've noticed if I look back on when I've failed, that's when I've been more concerned about what the audience was thinking. So honestly, earlier when you asked, like, are you always considering like what's going to make them laugh and what's not going to make them laugh? And the fact is, like, for my little bit of times where I've figured out the equation, it hasn't been like thinking about what I'm going to say. It's kind of been more like you're feeling like the beat of like the back and forth, and it's like boom, boom, boom. But I'm just learning that. That's such a new kind of a hobby and passion of mine.
Do you want to like get into it seriously, like
absolutely? No, absolutely. And I think I'm on my way there.
Hell yeah.
I just I'm figuring out myself so I can best kind of hit the situation properly, and enjoy the situation, and kind of like I want to prepare myself while kind of diving into it before I fully like dive into it even more.
You move into Austin?
No, I really want to do like, obviously, like I want to at least put my name in the bucket for Kill Tony repeatedly, and I've always wanted to do that.
Oh, is it like a raffle or something?
It's a bucket style kind of comedy show, where bucket pull style rather, where you're putting your name in a bucket and it's getting pulled at random, and then you're getting called up on stage doing 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And you're getting judged by Tony Hinchcliffe, and then Brian Redman happens to just be sitting on the side, and they usually have like a guest judge. But it's I've been watching that show for quite a bit, and I've always really enjoyed it, and I've always wanted to do it. I really am a little bit bummed that I never got to see it here at the Comedy Store, off Sunset Boulevard in LA, because it's kind of in our backyard. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is in our backyard.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm super thankful for, is to have that insane building over there where like so much is happening currently and so much has happened in the past, and kind of just learning about the history that has been really enjoyable. It's like kind of like a side note, but yeah, I don't think I'm jumping on Austin quite yet. I really enjoy surfing. I really enjoy the Southern California weather. I really missed the sunshine while I was up in Oregon, and the culture here. I mean, I don't think it's matched anywhere else. And there's some downsides to it, like there is everything else in life, but there's quite a nostalgic almost energy here in Southern California. Even though it is a vacuum, if you live here for a long time, you get to know a lot of cool people. That's a fact. And everyone's always just so unique and colliding with each other. And I think it creates like this, somehow we're really chill with each other still, and there's a beauty in that. And when I lived in Oregon, I did not experience that in the same way. It was quite a different style of individual because you just have like a different landscape that these people are living around.
Yeah.
You kind of, I feel like in life, I don't know, I might be wrong, but you kind of have to learn how to live where you're living. I might be wrong.
What were they like out there?
It's not that they were anything bad, you know. I love everyone, and I love all walks of life, but they were just different. They were like they were different. They were different, not and almost perhaps even more self-reliant, like almost better in some ways.
Yeah.
But down here, like, I mean, it's all just like, it's all population and numbers, you know. It all boils down to that. Like up there, there's less people. There's more of a family aspect to the situation. Everyone's really out there in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, one time we had like a fire almost burn our house down while we were living up there.
Damn.
Like it was way too close for comfort. The skies were fucking orange and red. I have photos of it. It looks apocalyptic. Bananas. And there was only, like, where I lived was like off PCH, basically, the 101 up there. But there was like one road in, one road out kind of situation, right?
Yeah.
And if the fire jumps over the highway, what are you doing? And the fire is coming. Like we had friends that lost their houses during this fire. Mm-hmm. And it was just a very humbling experience. I had never, other than like the monsoon, like the crazy monsoons that we sometimes have, or I might be wrong with the verbiage, but I remember growing up and seeing like water cyclones and HB, and like we had like pretty heavy like rainy seasons where stuff would flood, you know? And other than that, I haven't seen any natural catastrophes down here.
Yeah.
And yeah, in Oregon, you get like exposed to that more raw kind of situation of life. So it just raises a different person. And again, a different person, not necessarily a bad or a good person. But down here, there's a very particular type of way to be.
So what was it like, or what was your day-to-day being in the Coast Guard? And by the way, much respect. I thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you so much.
I really respect military guys and police people as well. Just, I don't know, it takes to volunteer to do that stuff.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. To be honest, I feel like there's like such a scale of like respect there, you know, like there's like people that I look up to and like respect even more. I'm just like, whoa, that's insane that you did that. Like all the war veterans, and I just don't put myself in that same category at all because I just don't feel like I am. But, you know, I worked under Homeland Security, and we did search and rescue operations, and I would say I was mostly just really cold for a while. Like that was kind of like what it was, but like, I enjoyed it, you know what I mean? But I don't feel like I'm in the same box as like a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah. Okay.
But boot camp was gnarly.
Yeah, can you talk about that? What was it like?
You know, it's crazy. When I left the military, I did sign a piece of paper saying I wasn't allowed to talk about it. But it's like, let's fucking talk about it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what was it like? What was it? How long was it?
The Coast Guard boot camp was 8 weeks.
Okay.
But it was a long 8 weeks.
I bet.
Oh my goodness. And you get there and they're like, okay, like, we know that you're here for 8 weeks, or you thought it was going to be 8 weeks, but we just want to let you know, like, we can throw you back in the program if we think you're not advancing.
Is that 100% a thing?
It's called reversion. And it is 100% a thing.
Damn.
And like 70% of the company gets reverted or something ridiculous.
No,
it's a
really?
big amount, yeah.
Fuck.
I might be a little high on that average. When I went, I think it was around there though.
Were you a part of that or no?
I never got reverted.
Fuck. Thank God, bro. Fuck.
Holy motherfuck. That was a fucking mission.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of Cape May, New Jersey is where the boot camp is, and this was pre-COVID era, so I think germs weren't as relevant or cared about it, which is funny because that's what seems to be. Everything's going back to that. which is cool. Like whatever, you know. But like there was like a particular cold that you would get while you were there that had just like the most interesting name. It was called the Cape May crud.
Ugh.
Yeah, I got my wisdom teeth removed while I was in boot camp, 3 of them.
Oh shit.
And I didn't even like they didn't put me under. They just numbed my mouth, and I still have like visual kind of like memories of like the doctor just putting a fucking like a like a railroad tie in my mouth and just going to town on it and like literally cracking the fuck out of my teeth.
Oh my god.
And then pulling them out.
That must have been so uncomfortable.
You know how long they gave us to recover from a wisdom teeth surgery?
2 days.
1 day.
No.
1 day.
Wait, why did you have to get them removed?
Because they want to have you worldwide deployable and seaworthy, which you can't have like wisdom teeth problems underway because you might get in trouble or you might like, you know, end up with a bad medical condition. They just want to weigh that possibility out. So they're just fucking cracking teeth out of recruits' mouths.
Jesus.
And by the way, anytime you speak during boot camp, you have to yell at the top of your lungs.
Okay.
Your voice is gone by like week 4, week 3. Your voice is gone, but they still make you like, and you're talking in a very particular way.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
Fuck.
A lot to unpack. But it you know, I did it in 8 weeks. I remember right when I graduated, I wanted to literally get the fuck out of there. I should have shook my like company commander's hands, which I thought they were great people.
Yeah.
Except one of them.
Really?
One of them was fucking insane, but mostly great people. But I just wanted to leave. Like, oh my gosh. And then I got to my hotel room after the 8-week process, and I was asking my ex-girlfriend, my girlfriend at the time, if I could just go and work out like the first day, like within hours of just being back in the bedroom away from the boot camp. I was just concerned about where the gym was, and I'm not like the most like gym rat kind of style of individual. So there was a point in time where we would go and like every Sunday you had like, I think it was called like holy hours. So funny. And it's like 4 hours where they're not allowed to yell at you, and it was like you look forward to it.
Oh, on Sundays.
Yeah, whether or not
during boot camp.
During boot camp, you
Okay.
get your holy hours. If I remember correctly, it was it was from 8 to 12, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Yeah, and
you're just chilling, or is that your
no?
job?
They give you a bunch of tasks before holy hours, but the benefit is they don't get to yell at you, whether or not you're going or subscribing to church. At the time, I went to church. I'm not really religious, but I went to church because I was like, well, holy hours are from 8 to 12, but I can go to church for a little longer.
Okay.
And get a little more like holy hours. One kid actually got caught, or I mean, I think he was like 19, 20, younger guy.
Yeah.
And he was a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness, and so he had to go off base to get his religion in.
There you go.
But they caught him with a Twix in his pocket on the way back.
What does that mean?
A Twix bar, a candy bar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can't do that, dude. You can't be bringing. That's like contraband.
Oh fuck.
They publicly humiliated the guy in front of everyone.
What'd they do?
They made him like empty his pockets in front of the whole company, and then they put him like up against a wall, and then just had him like repeatedly yell like, "I will not bring a Twix back from church. I will not bring a Twix back from church."
Oh my god.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah.
You're yelling stuff. Like there was one time where, so the galley or the kitchen, like where you go to eat, you have to snake in a very particular way. You have to march into the galley, right? And you get served like a plate of food or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're not holding the tray, it's like a lunch tray. If you're not holding it with your elbows tucked into your sides like this, with proper tray control, they called it, or something like that. Like, which has to do with proper muzzle control. And there's something which is referencing like a firearm. But something they always said at boot camp was, whatever we're doing right now has like a deeper meaning, always, if you're wondering. And I have found that to be a little bit true. But they would literally, there was a bit of hazing that was involved too. Like they would come up to you, if you weren't holding the tray right, they would just smack it out of your hand, just explode everywhere.
With your food.
With your food.
Ah, fuck. And then
Yeah.
you would clean it up?
You would just keep marching.
Oh,
Because you're getting blasted by a
Yeah.
drill sergeant at that point. It was
That sounds very stressful.
bananas. Oh, so even the religious aspect of it. I went to like the church, and I was just like blown away because the priest was talking about like during church. He was just like, "Yeah, by the way, like your brain chemistry will for sure be changed like doing this. Like here are photos. Here's a brain before boot camp. Here's a brain after." And
then
it was
he's like, praise Jesus.
and I was just like, why are we talking about
Yeah,
this
what
at
the
church?
fuck?
Like this is fucking gnarly. And I don't know. I got through it somehow.
Yeah.
It was bananas. At the time I was 19. I was young. I had just gone to Coachella weeks prior to boot camp, smoked fucking weed.
What year did you go? 2015?
I went to Coachella 3 years, I believe 16, 17, and 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to piss so bad.
So do I.
You want another White Claw or are you good?
This one's still got some good juice to it, but thanks so much.
Gotcha.
Appreciate it. Can't hear you yet. All right,
They
we're good.
suck you in, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's good to hear a nice like crispness to your voice.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like the president.
You feel like Joe Rogan.
No, I don't. I feel a little. I don't like. I try to like stay away from feeling like Joe Rogan.
Yeah? Why is that?
I respect Joe Rogan greatly, but I also like. I don't know, like. Leave him be. That poor guy's got so much attention.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to be Joe Rogan.
He got
now.
100 million.
He's like the new Kanye,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of in a better way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What happened with Kanye after the whole thing?
I don't
haven't
even
heard
know. I
anything
heard it
about
was a Balenciaga kind of outing. Like he wanted to get out of a contract. I don't even know. I don't even care. I don't
Yeah.
even care.
Same.
I don't even care.
Yeah.
I think Homecoming, it's a good song.
Yeah.
I've had people in my past like Kanye more than me, but honestly, like there are other rappers that I honestly like would love to talk about way more than Kanye.
Are you big on rap?
When I skate, like that 90s era, kind of like, you know, late 80s, early 90s, like gangster rap is always ideal when you're hurting yourself. It like keeps you going. It really, it makes you more confident than you should be.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, I've kind of noticed with, like, a little bit of age, like, getting traumatized by, like certain songs and being like, man, I don't want to be in that mindset that I was in when I was listening to this constantly. Because I feel like with music, you're able to really, like, you get a lot of emotion out with music, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I love, like, putting, like, there's certain songs that I'm always, like, there's always a song that I'm really into.
Okay. What's your song right now?
There's several. I knew you were gonna ask that.
Yeah,
I knew
buddy.
right when it rolled off my tongue. I knew when it's a reggae song.
Okay. Okay.
It's a reggae song. Oh,
What's
you're
it
gonna pull
called?
it up right
Yeah,
now?
I'm gonna pull it up.
Okay. Let me look at my YouTube music. Because by the way, the Spotify algorithm got flat. I don't know. It's flat.
Mine's right now is "Weight of Love" by the Black Keys.
Oh yeah, I know that song. That's a good one.
that
I vary so much across the board, but I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay.
Oh no. It's something along the lines of like "Hail Me, Edrin," but that's
on
not.
on my likes stuff, so I can listen to it later. I don't think you can play it on the pod.
Yeah, but there's always like a couple songs, you know, that I'm like pumping for juice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
There's
okay, you know what's wild? I feel a little bit disconnected, like with at least like the charts. Because did you ever have a time like where you were really like I remember being like 12, 13 on my iPod Touch, like checking like Apple's music charts
Okay.
and finding artists that way.
Oh, okay.
You never did that? Or
No,
did you ever
I
do
didn't
that?
get into music until like after high school.
Really?
Yeah, I was
Well,
just
after high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you listening to during high school?
Just whatever was trending. So it was kind of just that like hive mindset of like high school, everyone's listening to this, you know. Didn't really even develop like my own thing. It wasn't until I was watching American Dad and they did a collab with My Morning Jacket. Have you heard of that band?
Sounds super familiar.
Super sick band, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool music. I wonder if they're a real band." And they were, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And I was listening to them, and on YouTube they did a collab with Neil Young, because I guess the main singer, he really looked up to him. So I was like, "Whoa, Neil Young sounds sick!" And then I just started listening to Neil Young, and then that got me into like my classic rock journey for like 4 years.
Right, The Doors was the band that changed music for me. I hate to be that guy, but I was.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, because in high school, I remember looking at their live performance at the Hollywood Bowl late at night, like when I was supposed to be like asleep, and I'm just sitting there looking at this like performance over and over again, like watching Jim Morrison and his stage presence and being like, wow, this guy is very cool. But then you go to Venice, and there was an era. I don't think Venice is pretty gentrified now, and it's cool. Like my buddy, he's a chef over there. And it's like I love going over and visiting him. But Venice for a time was just like Jim Morrison merch.
Wow.
I swear, when going there in my youth, that's all I noticed when I was really young. I was like, wow, there's a lot of street vendors, and they're all selling Doors merch.
Yeah.
But there was a time where I was like, oh my God, the Doors. They opened up my perception, my understanding, and my love for music.
Yeah.
And I kind of moved on from there. Right, I went through a really big country phase last year, like kind of like the new age country, but like not like the pop country. Like,
have you heard of Culture Wall? Yeah,
Culture Wall, great. Tyler Childers, Charlie Crockett, off his new album. One of those songs was my most played song last year.
What about that dude, Sturgill Simpson?
Sturgill Simpson's cool. Obviously, I've listened to him on the old Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. But I know he's a big fan of him, but that guy's cool because he's so talented that he kind of like is able to sound so many, unique ways.
Yeah.
Almost effortlessly from what it appears, right? But that takes like a lot to get there. But there's a beauty in the new country scene that's coming up. I've never like subscribed to country. I've always been more so like the indie rock scene here over in Costa Mesa. Like, remember Beach Goth?
Mm-mm.
Like the Growlers.
Oh, yeah.
The Growlers are in my past again. They're right up there with the Doors. Or like, all of that like Burger Records stuff that was coming up in like 2015, 14 era, or perhaps a little before then. I was introduced to it in like 2015 era, 14. But I don't know. My musical taste continuously evolves. I find jazz very. I'm just starting to just touch jazz, and it's just like it's so like relaxing in the moment, and it's like it's such a cool little taste while you're living your life. Because like a lot of my music again was just like I almost like pump up like
Yeah.
like I was into house for a bit. I really enjoyed certain house artists, and I still am. I still. Anytime I go through a musical, period with any artist or genre, that ends up becoming a part of me. I've noticed.
Yeah. I think that's with everyone.
Right. Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's what I like now.
Yeah.
But like, it's a lot of effort to talk about all that. So it's like I don't have like I don't know anything I'm too crazy about right now. Like nothing's too. I went through that country thing, and I was crazy about Culture Wall.
Mm-hmm.
I bought his merch.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, I had a sick Culture Wall hat, but I lost it.
Ah, fuck.
But he's cool.
Yeah.
He's cool. Codeine Dream, that's a great song. But, and I don't know. It ebbs and flows with music, and myself. And I happen to have really good friends that are in like the music scene, and they're trying to make their names, and I love that. I love that music as an aspect in my life. I didn't expect it to be. especially at a younger age. But it's like the coolest thing ever. It's one of the coolest things ever. It's just another creative realm, and I think creative realms, although sometimes they can lead people to nowhere, they are very unique and interesting, and I have a huge love for them. You know, they really bring everything that seems to matter into my life, undeniably. So.
And you said you dabbled with singing, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, definitely like had my own little interface set up and recorded myself up in Oregon and have watched, you know, my friends record themselves and it just kind of, I want to do it more. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things, like, how much can you stack into your life and how can you do it right? Like,
yeah,
you have to get really good at something. You know what I mean? But,
yeah, find your niche and become a master at it.
Right.
So to kind of change subjects, when I met you in October, I think you had just broken up with your girlfriend or your ex.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit, about like that journey? Because I know you were feeling kind of weird about that.
At the time I was,
yeah. But I want to get into that specifically, how like in breakups, there's obviously, you know, you're attached to that person and it's going to hurt, right? But you see yourself 4 months later, 6 months later, and you're doing good. You know,
right.
It's no longer a thing. What was that like?
It was a real lesson, an undeniable string of lessons that I'm still learning a lot from. And it's a good little reset, you know. You could see where you went wrong and adjust yourself accordingly. But, I mean, it's so painful. It's like the most painful thing I've ever experienced with that military experience. I don't know. I've heard that people always like, you know, people talk about their military experience not in the most positive manner a lot of times. Mine was a bit interesting in itself, but that was my first breakup, and we were dating for quite a while, like 5 years.
Wow.
So, and in that period of my life, just like the amount of life that took up for me, yeah, it's undeniably painful, you know. It's one of those things that like redefines, like, not only words, but perhaps your entire purpose. But that's not bad. I mean, that just is what it is, you know. But yeah, I'm still kind of like just on that journey. And that is a catalyst for growth. Like, you're gonna grow a lot, but it's not gonna be like don't like look forward to it.
And would you find that helped kind of soothe that?
Getting back to what made me okay with the present moment in the past, you know? Perhaps skateboarding, comedy, surfing, snowboarding, reading, writing, for sure. Just anything that, again, coming back to like the open loop, closed loop kind of situation in the way we process things, like things that would put me back in the moment or do put me back in the moment, like seem to have like an overwhelming amount of momentum to them. I got really, because I bottomed out, you know, pretty bad. And I think what the first step was like taking care of myself, like going to the gym, just putting myself in the steam room all the time, just sweating, you know, sweating out the toxins, as they say. And but it's still a process. I mean, I think they say that like a true like if you're getting out of a relationship, it should take like half the time you're in it to get over it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like 2.5 years technically, and I feel like that's understandable, but that varies, you know. And I wouldn't change it for anything. I really wouldn't, because it wouldn't have challenged me to the level that my life has, and it wouldn't have caused me to even be here right now. I mean, really, it's one of those like give and take situations.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it's humbling though, and it's painful. You know, that's what everyone goes through it though. It's one of those things we all kind of go through. I mean, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend tell me that they thought that people that like fall in love with their high school sweethearts don't really grow very much. I was like, that's an interesting thought, because when you do lock in with that person, you're in it with that person, you know, and everything else comes second. I'm sure that you've kind of experienced similar things, right? But like when you're out of it, you're just, yourself is first again, and you have to figure out what yourself is. So it's wild. Woo! Talk about wild. That is wild.
Well, it's interesting to see that, like, again, going back to the idea of, like, we think we're all, like, smart and we're all sophisticated and this and that, but then we break up with someone and it feels like your earth shatters, right? Like
Your whole life.
Yeah, and
you look back on yourself like a little bit questionably, right?
yeah, and it's like, whoa.
Wait, what was I doing? It's such an there's an undeniable amount of animalistic things that I think we all fall victim to.
Yeah.
Whether or not we want to. Like, that doesn't mean that I don't want to be higher than whatever animals, but we're all the same, you know. We're all like these experience processing entities. Like, if you look at, like, I love my doggy so much. She's so sweet, and like she's experiencing life too. It's just different, you know. And we have a lot of responsibility, and we have consciousness and you know, thumbs and stuff, but we're you know, like any relationship kind of situation strikes you deeply.
Yeah.
And it could change you, I think, for life or for a while.
And then it makes you think,
that's
like,
a very primal thing, you know.
It is very primal.
It's very
There's a lot of things that we do that's very primal, you know, like, for example, sex. Like, think about it. When you have sex, it's like, that's not even me having sex, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
it's almost like you're fueled by your endorphins and your chemicals at that point.
I'm like, I switch off, and then like I come back on. I'm like, what the hell was that? That was I did that. You know, and there's a lot of moments like that when you're feeling pain, you're feeling hurt, you know, and being able to step back. I think kind of going into like that darker area of life of, like, you know, a lot of people are hurting out there. A lot of people like have depression, have these different things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I probably shouldn't speak on it because I can't really, you know for sure. But if there is some way to kind of take yourself back and take a step back and realize that, you know, it's just a moment of time. And as long as you try and work on yourself and try and do better things, you know, hopefully there will be a light at the end of the tunnel, you know?
Oh, there is. There is undeniably a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's just up to you to make that light come through. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that the ball's in your court.
Yeah, because in that example with you and the whole breakup, it's like, are you going to kind of just soak in that pain and let it take over your life? Or are you going to do something about it and kind of find yourself again and work on yourself and do you know?
I think that there's a happy medium of both. I think you do soak in it for a sec. Everyone does.
Yeah.
And then you try to like understand it, and then you move on.
Yeah, but it's that understanding part and then moving on, right? Because there are some people that do just let it affect them.
Yeah, but I don't know what the proper amount of time is there. I think that's just like up to you.
To each their own.
To each their own there, brother. But I wouldn't change it for the world, you know? I needed it. And everyone, that's like one of those things that touches base with like something that's bigger than all of us, is like, how come we all have to go through that? Like we have to experience uncomfortability. You know, we have to experience like loss and all of this stuff to better ourselves, whether or not we want to. And it's a little bit frightening, you know, because like you don't know what's coming in your life. You can think you know what's coming, but that's going to change.
Yeah. Unless
you don't grow. It could stay. Like you could have a very comfy little thing carved out. But again, how much are you going to grow in that situation? Probably not as much as if you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, like coming in, even doing a podcast. Like I could have said no
Yeah.
and been at home right now, comfy.
Yeah.
But what the fuck is that? Like, is that
Mhm.
I'm keeping myself from experiences at that point, and like this is an amazing, like, fun little situation.
Yeah.
But like it required a certain mindset for me to even, do it.
And I think another thing is like, it's not really in my eyes, I think everything is just kind of, as long as you're confident with yourself, for example, a breakup.
Yeah,
Or
you were
whatever.
mentioning overcoming your insecurities.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So, talking about like my underbite and stuff and like doing that, being confident with yourself. And I think once you reach a point where you are confident with yourself, you're feeling good.
Right.
I think you just have to reach a point where you just know that whatever happens, you'll be 100% at the end of the day, you know? Like, you'll be, for example, if my girlfriend broke up with me, like, it would fucking hurt, you know?
Yeah.
I would definitely feel that pain, but there's still that idea in me that's like, at the end of the day, life goes on. You know what I'm saying? And that goes with everything, you know? Like, you lose your arm, you lose your leg. Yeah, it's tragic. You know, that would suck, but I would adjust and my life would go on.
You like
know?
have to.
Exactly.
You have no
And
option.
it's knowing that, being aware and self-aware and taking that step back and saying, hey, this is not the end of the world, you know? Unless I get shot in the head, then technically, yes, it's the end of the world. But at that point, it's like, who cares? I'm not even there anymore, right?
Yeah, and what scares me in a situation like that, that's redefining terms for you, is not necessarily even grounding yourself, because that's part of it. But also, I worry about my own individuality and, like, not individuality, but my deeper, like, psychological self and my conscious self, like, not causing the situation to be worse than it has to be. Because you do get to a certain point with emotional stuff where you can only take so much. You're like, oh my gosh, like, I feel defeated, or I feel knocked down. Like, I need to pick myself up. Like, you do get to, like, an overwhelming point. And that's when you start redefining things and going, like, sorry, where did I go wrong? Like, I shouldn't be here. Where was it that I steered the ship towards this? Because that was never my intention.
Mm-hmm.
But that's such a humbling fate, you know. But important. It's important. It's grounding. It reminds us that we're all in this thing together, sort of, you know. But times are changing, you know. People interact differently through different times, and technology is this, like, you know what I think about technology? Although it is, like, ever evolving so quickly and it is changing our lives, it also happens to be, in my opinion, a little bit of a situation where they're trying to sell us on everything. So they're almost selling it like it's happening quicker than it is, in my opinion, because that creates more business. You know, if you're like Elon, you want people to think that you're the best thing ever, and you're creating the best solutions ever. But I mean, that's just a person at the end of the day behind all of that. It doesn't matter how much he has in front of him, but all these really powerful people, like, what do they have access to? I mean, that's always a question that, I mean, we could talk about, but how much of it is smoke and mirrors, and how much of it is just like a manipulation tactic, and like how much of it is ego driven? Like, there's no way everyone that's in the limelight is doing it for, and I'm not saying Elon Musk is negative in any way. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, like, who is? And I think you can kind of deeply dive into that. But technology is quite fascinating. It's quite addictive.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to social media, there's like so many pros, so many cons, but I think it's just one of those humps that we got to get over. And
it's so basic still, in my opinion. I really think it's basic and oversold, and it's like the best we do have. And it has to do with, like, human interaction, which just, like, further strengthens, like, the idea that we are creatures of, like, community.
Playing on those instincts and stuff.
Right. We love that interaction.
Yeah.
And, like, social media was just a different way to experience that interaction, but it doesn't mean it's the best. Like, I'm kind of overhearing Instagram. I'm kind of overhearing Twitter, overhearing about TikTok. Like what's next? You know, like what's the more evolved version of that? And I think a lot of people are in that boat.
Here's like a random thought that I just thought about right now. Is it really a bad thing? I mean, for me personally, I don't want to spend all my time on social media, but
yeah,
is it really a bad thing? Like, stepping back, I mean, back in the 90s, it was movies, let's say, or 2000s.
there's always something that brings community closer.
Yeah.
Whether it's like sitting around a campfire or logging into your Instagram and checking your notifications. But, like, I think it can be a bad thing because, like, you can get caught in a loop where you're looking for something that's not happening and you're almost like getting on an app and kind of seeing what the rest of your age group is doing, and then like you start to question yourself.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
You start to compare, and I don't think that's positive.
Yeah, and it's also those like dopamine rushes and all that, right?
It's and I think even as an individual trying to figure everything out, like you're at a certain stage in your path, and that doesn't mean you're going to line up with anyone else's stage. But I think it's like almost impossible to not compare yourself at a certain rate to someone else and then wonder, hey, why is he or she or whoever they may be at this level, and why am I not there, and when am I going to get there? Like, and once you start questioning that, like, are you putting any effort to actually getting there? No, I think, right?
But then I think there's two kinds of people for those situations. It's either the person that like looks down and says, oh, or puts their head down and is like, oh, let's go to work, or the other person that's just like, yeah, like that can't be me, you know? Is it a fuel fire, or is it like the water that puts out the fire?
Well, it's what are you fueling?
Like for me specifically?
No, I'm saying generally speaking, like you can be fueling
it's like a
you could be fueling
right,
you could be kind of fueling like a negative feat.
Yeah.
And at that point, is your energy really being used properly? You only have so much every day. You know, you only have so much. So is that the way to go? I don't know. There's a lot of benefits. You know, I don't have social media figured out. I remember, like, I was in school with like some people, like in high school, just growing up around people that ended up like blowing up big time on social media, like Brent Rivera. Like, that guy, he's got millions of followers, and he started out with like, you know, obviously none, and he was in this like era of social media where it was such a baby. He was like posting selfies of himself and just getting mad traction, you know, and then he just like intelligently went about it, and like, I mean, he's got I think a lot of success because of the mindset he put himself through. So like, that's wild. Like, that's so unexpected and so you know, defined and such a new kind of way to succeed in life.
Yeah.
You know, before social media, like, did influencers have a platform to that degree? I mean, not unless it was television, right? There was nothing that connected us like that. And that is a beauty in technology, but it's almost like a little bit of like again, like a vacuum situation. There's a lot of people that aren't famous that are chasing it.
Yeah. And I think
and what are those people doing?
It goes back to the idea of like pros and cons. Like, there's obviously a lot of cons. Comparison, that's a big one. Feeling not adequate and all that. But then another big thing is like what you just said. There's 1,000 new ways of, you know, making money and stuff. You know, whether it's e-commerce or just influencer, social media, that presence as well. Like, I think it goes down to that hump of like, this is the shitty part where there's comparison and this and that, and then we get to another point where it's like that's no longer a thing. Maybe we grow out of it or something, you know.
Yeah, I think there's always gonna be situations where things can be unhealthy for individuals, and that's really up to them to like police themselves there. Like, nobody else is gonna do it. it's just gonna be like you. Like, are you gonna suck yourself into like a negative hole because of social media, or are you gonna use it as like a tool?
Exactly.
That's up to you. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's social media. It's just such a basic. It's so basic. Like, there's only like a handful of platforms.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty basic, right? Like, I feel like it's gonna grow, and like you get like with this like metaverse thing with like Facebook and that whole entity like pushing that, and then like it not really turning into anything. Or another example, Elon Musk pushing the Cybertruck. Not really social media, but tech. Like, there's a lot of like selling and a lot of like hype. It's a hype machine, and the people that are on top benefit greatly, but do you or I benefit that greatly? I mean,
I think so. I think, again, it goes back to that,
I don't necessarily not think so.
Yeah. I going back to the pros and cons. And I think there's a lot of cons, but there's a lot of smart people out there that see the opportunity and say, how can I make something out of this?
And that takes a certain mind and a certain mindset and a certain individual that is a byproduct of all their experiences to have the confidence to walk down that path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who are you going to be? Are you going to be someone that just gets sucked in, or
no?
Does the suck in?
I wanna try to express myself through it.
Yeah,
and then grow.
Because it's such a unique tool, and I think we're still in these baby stages of like where we're being consumed and we're being like sold these products essentially, and not really realizing that we ourselves can be the creator and make our worth out of it. So, like, example, comedian. You could record your clips, throw it on every social media platform. One hits, boom, you're on Joe Rogan next week or something.
And that goes down. That happens.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
There's
it's
examples
like
of that.
realizing the opportunities that you have in front of you, utilizing those tools to your advantage, and doing something with it, not just being a cog in the machine,
Yeah, there's a lot of negative kind of like aspects to it though that like just pour over though, Even if you are big in social media, you can get like you hear all those guys that are so concerned about their comments. Or I mean, if I ever get to a point where people are commenting on my physical appearance through my social media repeatedly and pointing things out, I might look at it too much.
Yeah.
But hey, that's life. Like, that's life.
Yeah.
You can even put yourself in the right situation, or you can fucking not. And that's going to be you. But it takes like confidence, and it takes the ability to do it, and the belief in yourself. You got to believe in yourself first.
Yeah.
Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to believe in you.
And it's also like believing in yourself, having that confidence, like I said before, and not knowing that you can step back and say, hey, I'm me. Like, being a man is like, this would be a fun topic to get onto.
Yeah.
But being a man is knowing yourself, knowing your values, and sticking to that. Right? So same could go for social media. Like, for me,
that's one aspect.
Yeah, one aspect. I think it's a big aspect, though. I think that's not only for men, but why women find men attractive as well. I think this is a good example, okay? So me and my girlfriend, we were doing a podcast, and we were talking about, like, I was talking about my sexuality. I'm straight, but I told her, I was like, every guy, I can speak for myself, like, has these weird random thoughts pop up from a young age, and like gay thoughts or whatever, and I'm just like, no, that's just not really me.
You're like,
not really into it.
I know how to answer that.
Yeah, I'm like, not really into it. Pretty straight, but I could, as a straight dude, say, yeah, some random thoughts come up sometimes. It's like intrusive thoughts, you know what I'm saying?
Like, gay thoughts? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, gay thoughts, or just like random stuff,
Do you remember Ray William Johnson?
Mm-mm.
Okay, he had a show called =3 on YouTube back in the day, and it was like
yeah. I remember
huge
him.
deal.
Yeah, he's back on TikTok.
Right, Ray WJ or whatever.
Something.
And he had a podcast with his girlfriend. I don't even know.
Yeah, I remember her. She's Asian, right?
Yes.
Something.
I don't remember her exact name, but they had an episode called Good and Gay Thoughts. I remember. And I remember listening to it and being like, and they were bringing up the idea of like, yeah, even if you're straight, you're going to have gay thoughts?
Yeah, it's more of like intrusive thoughts, just like you would be walking down the street, you see a kid, and you're like, I want to kick that kid in the face or something, like just random intrusive thoughts.
That's just that primal thing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but, and I was talking to her about that, going back to the conversation. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can admit that. Like, there's no big deal, I'm comfortable with my sexuality, I'll say that. And then she's like, yeah, that's what makes me so attracted to you. And I'm like, no, that's not what makes you attracted to me. It's the fact that I own that. I could be like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not fucking gay. Like, fuck gay people. Well, and she'd be like, if I'm still centered in myself, she would still be like, oh, that's why I'm attracted to you, because you know what you want. You know what I'm saying? And that's my point, is that, like, as long as you're a dude, obviously, don't say fuck gay people. Love my gay people.
Yeah.
But, like, being true to yourself and knowing that, and even if she comes along and is like, oh, that's weird that you're okay with that you're accepting these intrusive thoughts, I'd be like, okay, I don't care what you think. I'm still going to do me. I'm not going to let that affect me.
And that's the attractive aspect.
That's the attractive aspect. And then going back to that being a man aspect, for myself, I think that's a big thing, is like being true to yourself and not letting anyone, girls, guys, affect that.
Right. That's important. That's really important. But let's see. I in the past, it's funny. I think Southern California culture has like raised me to be this like particular individual.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've been questioned on my sexuality. People think I'm gay.
Mm.
And it's like I'm not gay at all. But I wonder why people wonder I'm gay all the time. Is it because I'm comfortable in my sexuality?
That could be it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I had a group of Christian people have all heavily question
Pray
myself.
the gay away.
I was just like, guys, I'm not gay.
Is that what happened?
It was wild. Yeah, I don't even want to get into like the specifics, but I was just so caught off guard because the last thing I am is gay. I love making a good gay joke.
I know, me too.
And I have some like best friends that are guys that will fuck around like heavy in public, but almost for our own entertainment. It's not a gay thing, you know?
Like,
but
what exactly? What do you mean? Yeah, so like making gay jokes, or
just sometimes we just like to make things uncomfortable on purpose.
okay,
Like just fucking funny shit. But it's all in humor.
yeah. And then you're friends with comedians as well, and you're a comedian too, so it's funny to fuck around with that stuff.
It's enjoyable to put people in a situation where they're maybe like wondering what the fuck is going on. But like that doesn't mean I'm gay.
Yeah.
But I kind of enjoy that. I don't know why. I've always enjoyed that. When I was younger, I would just do like the most heinous shit, like for not even necessarily attention, but just to interact.
Bless you.
Thank you. Just to interact with the world,
Mm-hmm.
to put myself out there. And I think for some reason, it's like it's continued on into this thing where it's like, all right, I want to keep putting myself out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But how are you tying that back into that being a man?
What? I mean, I don't know. I don't think
How do you define a man? And we're still in our 20s, 5 years from now, we could be like, what the fuck was I thinking? So this is with a grain of salt. And why do you think I actually have to pee again? I have a small bladder.
Go ahead. Follow your heart. Being a man.
Oh, that was magical.
Magical.
Nothing like a kiss. All right, so how do you define a man?
Well, I think a man is all about taking care of his people
Okay.
versus himself. but that's like such a selfless thing. A real man takes care of his kin, at least in the past. But now we're trying to get rid of like gender and shit.
Yeah.
Someone's trying to get rid of it.
So, like, kin as in, like, your kids and stuff?
Hey, you think of a man, like, on the Oregon Trail, like, he's making sure there's food. He's making sure, like, there's resources to survive. And a father figure, that's a man, you know, someone that is there for his child and is coaching them in the way of life. It's a selfless act, I think. A real man is a selfless man, but manlyhood gets taken advantage of for selfish means, in my opinion. But
what do you mean by that?
I think that being a man, being physically overpowering towards perhaps like other individuals, you know, flexing your masculinity in like a realm where you're trying to, you know, strike a romantic relationship with someone, like amongst other men. Like, it's so wild, like when you're at a bar and there's a dynamic where multiple people are going after one woman.
Yeah.
That gets so like
bars and clubs, and I've had these conversations I love talking about it because it's such a weird place that we as people have decided that it's this place where guys and the opposite sexes or the same sexes come together, and that's where you guys meet, talk, and hook up. It's like so weird.
It doesn't make sense.
It's really weird.
I don't think that's where we decided. I think that's like the sad way to do it.
I agree. I
think that's like the way you think you should do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's an empty feat.
Yeah. I see it. It's fun. I've done it. You know.
Likewise.
It's fun.
Well, sometimes you get bottlenecked into doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps later tonight for me. Later tonight for me, I'll probably be doing this.
Yeah.
By the way.
Okay. No, that's cool. No, I get it. It's fun, the rush, especially when you like get a chick and you're like, yo, this is fun. You're having fun. It's a great time. But I always saw it as like kind of a waste of time in my eyes.
And money.
Well, depends how you go about it. But in my eyes, it's like I'd rather bring a chick and like just dance, have a good time. Because the way I would drink would just be like with buddies and getting fucked up or having like a girl over and just drinking, you know. That's the way to go about it for me. But I don't know. I think it's way more fun if you bring chicks and you don't even think about that stuff. Or you just go with the guys, have a good time, and then, you know, maybe invite some girls that you know over.
Yeah.
Don't even go for trying to pick up chicks.
Alcohol is quite a substance, though.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying is, like, it's not only a place where you meet or you're trying to meet your partner, but, like, you're involving alcohol, you know? Is that even a partner that you want? Right?
It's so good.
My claw.
Yeah, it's really good. But it's this weird thing we do as youthful individuals, burn our excess life. Because like the older you get, the more difficult it is to recover from a hangover, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're young, you don't really worry about that. Therefore, you go a little harder. And you almost like put yourself in this like situation, but then you kind of find yourself like chasing it too. Like you go, oh, I'm gonna go get effed up, or I'm gonna go get fucking hammered and go hard with my boys, like whatever it may be you're doing. Which, believe me, I enjoy. Yeah. I'm probably gonna do it later, but eventually, I hope I unsubscribe from that mindset. You know, like it's definitely not like it definitely can put you in tricky situations really quickly. But it's something that we all again go through. There's all these things that like for some reason human beings seem to kind of go through together. So White Claw burp season.
Those are monsters. I love White Claws. But going back to that idea of being a man, so for you, it's like having a child and being selfless and raising that child. So you have to have a child to be a man?
No. Because I really don't even know if I want children.
Nice, me too.
But it's almost like you can be a selfish man.
Mm.
And that seems to be that seems to be a little bit of a trend.
Yep. So, all right. So again, so for this is a cool thing about being alive and being with a
Right.
whole bunch of people is that everyone has their different ideas. And I hate when people, not that you're doing this, but like religions or other ideologies really try to impose the way
Beliefs.
their beliefs onto other people. And it's like, who the fuck are you, you know? So this is the
Yeah.
really cool thing that, you know, we could just talk about openly and just discuss. So just want to give a humble, what is that, prayer or respect to whatever that is. But being a man, you know, for me is like, if you are being selfish, and as long as you're owning up to it and you're self-aware of what you're doing, like, you're a man. You know, you're doing you.
Yeah.
You know,
But
obviously, like, you know, if you're beating women or if you're like stealing or killing people, that's not cool. You know, we can all agree that's not cool. But if you're being selfish and
definitely not cool.
yeah, if you're being selfish and
Can you open this bad boy?
Yeah. If you're being selfish and putting yourself first, trying to make money or just trying to start being a comedian or whatever, you know,
That's what's gonna get you there. You have to be a
Yeah.
little selfish.
yeah.
You have to be a little bit like,
Oh wait, I'll go with you.
oh yeah, rip it.
Yeah. I'll cheers this bad boy.
You wanna? Can I go to the bathroom real quick?
Yeah,
And
go
then
ahead, go ahead.
Okay, I'll be right back. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, good little sesh. So being a man.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. What is it about? Because the status quo doesn't love the idea of labeling things as men or women anymore. I don't know why.
I mean, I don't care about it. You could just speak.
Yeah,
Speak
I don't.
freely.
I'm not saying that you care about it, but it seems to be this reoccurring theme, even in like partners that I've like had. You know, after my ex, I've been really like presented these like wild.
Well, it's because you're dating in LA or SoCal. You know,
Yeah.
you're in a very specific dating area,
Right.
versus if you went to the Midwest or anywhere else, any other country, or you know, they look at you like, "What are you talking about?" You know, I think
Yeah.
we're in a very specific area, which I have run into my fair share of girls, you know, thinking a certain way, and 100% I respect how you think and stuff, but I think
That's
it's
not how
the
even how
region.
I think. That's not even how I think. That's just like what I'm around. But
Mhm.
I think that I'm trying to like get a definition for you, and really the best way I'm going to be able to do it is by putting myself in the moment
Mhm.
and thinking about what the fuck I think is a man.
Yeah.
And I think like a man, it has to be a person with an excess amount. A real man has a lot of resources. An excess amount. A real man is able to provide for himself and others. A real man is able to put himself through struggle and know that it's worth the greater good, even though it's not good in the moment. I think the most benefit you get in life is during times of discomfort. You know, as much as we all want to just sit down and fucking fuck off all day, like we just all love it. I love it, you know.
Yeah, I
Do
think
you really grow in that time, or do you grow in the time of discomfort? Like when I'm most centered is after I work out. That's a fact every time.
yeah.
When I work out, that's when I'm sweating the most. That's when I'm running myself on a treadmill. That's when I'm literally physically bringing my heart rate up, pumping things like pumping blood, all this crazy stuff. And then I feel that moment of purity. Or when I meditate, you know, I have to meditate to get the feeling after I meditate. But the feeling after I meditate is such an unmolested one. Like today I was down in like Laguna Niguel area, and I went and meditated just at this park, and I got this beautiful view of just the Pacific Ocean and then Catalina Island. But I was almost on top of it. I was kind of looking down at it, you know?
Yeah.
And I looked at it. But even in my living room, I have looked at my living room post-meditation and been like, oh my gosh. So you put yourself in a high altitude situation where you have this great perspective
Yeah.
and you meditate and you ground yourself and then you look around and you're like, wow, what the fuck? Like, what is this shit?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of freedom in our life, you know? There's a lot of freedom, and you can have much more if you really put your mind to it. But there's a lot of chaos, too. And a real man knows how to navigate that chaos. A real man knows how to accept when he's wrong. I think one of the most manly things to do. And that's why I even kind of hate calling it manly, because I don't want to leave women out of this. Or whatever they are. I don't want to leave other individuals out of this. Because, like, manliness to me isn't even about being a man, but
Being
a grounded individual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that is why I see something beautiful in that kind of separation of gender situation. Because it's just like we're all experiencing, like what, I mean, physically, we're different, right, than women.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. And gender really kind of like strays off of that physicality, you know, those differences in the physicalities of an individual, the makeup of an individual. So what's to say that women don't have that experience, or whatever gender, you know, is naming themselves doesn't have that? Because that's what I want. That's what I want for individuals. I want them to experience whatever the fuck is going on to the best of their ability for as long as they can, whether or not they're a man. And I think, like, in my head, that has to do with manliness. But a woman should be able to do that. And they can. And they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. I mean, because when you think, oh, okay, manliness. Well, in my head, I'm prioritizing manliness as number one. Because that's the byproduct of the environment that I was raised in. You know, with the military background and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be a man. Number one. But I also don't want to rob others of that experience. But at the same time, in a typical gender role situation, men are the ones that are putting themselves out there. Men are the ones that are kind of having to be more confident. You know, women seem to be the ones that kind of react to that, and then they come towards the man that's the most confident. So
yeah,
I don't want to deny that.
That's a great point.
I don't want to deny that.
No, that's actually a great point. Is like we can, especially in today's world, it's, you know, men, women equal, and I 100% agree, you know?
Yeah.
And it's always this idea of, like, there's no difference. But what you just said, like, it's when it comes to the confidence or how they carry themselves, or just what you just said, that then women are then attracted to that idea.
Women are attracted to that.
So, I mean, that alone separates something, right?
No, there are for sure differences in men and women, but I'm more on, like, the primal mindset. Okay. I'm more on, like, we're all energy. Animals are just as important as we are. We've just figured out how to act like we're better than them and, like, drive cars and shit. Like,
yeah,
we have, like, access to all this technology that other humans like us created before us, and we're benefiting their fucking hard work. Mm-hmm. Society is a lot of work to get to this point and have it not crumble, right? And me and you are both benefiting from that. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to forget about the rest of life, because, again, like, nobody planned this. We're all just here, and we all sleep every day. We all need sleep, and we all, like, dip into this other, like, situation and then wake up. Which is just, like, normalized. Like, what? We all go away and then we wake up.
Yeah.
That's such a, like, interesting thing to be like, oh, yeah, that's just, like, the way it is. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and that's what blows my mind about life. Because how many things like that have we just normalized to be more efficient?
That is really trippy. Just unconscious for 6 to 8 hours.
We're knocking ourselves out.
Yeah.
Almost, 6 to 8 hours, right? That's 33% of our day at 8.
Yeah.
That's 1/3 of our day we're doing that shit.
Yeah.
All together collectively.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, again, separate yourselves from, thinking that we're this and that, and we're so intelligent, but we're still, need those 8 hours of sleep.
We need that.
Yeah.
You can't get away.
Just like a dog needs his food.
We're
him to
right
feed you.
there with
Yeah.
the dog.
Yeah.
We're right there with the
Yeah.
animal.
Mm-hmm.
But like most people won't admit that.
I know, and it's crazy. They just are so
It's
consumed
crazy.
by the day to day, and they just
What are they striving for? What are those individuals striving for? What do they want? Because I felt like a disconnect in society before I wanted to become what I wanted to become.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Like, right?
Yeah.
You had like that first like, whoa, that's it, and then you're like, I'm good there, doc. And then like you like reassess yourself and go, oh, no, this is me.
Yeah.
But like, does everyone go through that? I don't think so, dog.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think they're just on the train of that,
Yeah.
and they don't go, I want something else. They just say that's life. My grandmother had 3 children by the time she was my age.
Fuck. Yeah.
That's life. That's her attitude. That's life.
Yeah.
But what is that? What is that? Because she was just talked into this thing. She was just raised in a certain way to believe, to marry a certain man and start procreating with him and creating other hers and thems.
Okay, but I mean, same could be said for now, right? I feel like a big theme for America is like, do what makes you happy, do this, do that. You know, like it's not about just making money. Chase whatever you want to chase. You know, so how are we to say that, or how are we to know that that's not happening to us right now too? Like the whole idea of chasing freedom or chasing whatever, like
An
that could be a
empty
symptom.
pursuit.
Yeah, like an empty pursuit. And then 100 years from now, they'd be like, what the fuck was that?
What
These
were
idiots.
they doing?
Yeah.
No, I was just talking to my grandma about that same thing. I was like, that's my biggest fear, is subscribing to those empty beliefs that I'm not going to be able to know we're empty until I look back at them. What are those things that is it Instagram? Is it Instagram? Like is it Twitter? Is it like locking into tech? Is it like what is it that I'm going to look back on and be like, huh?
And I think it varies culture to culture, right? I mean, I know in the States it's huge about, you know, grind time, chasing what makes you happy.
But I love that.
I do too.
Because that like there's a truth to that.
I do too, but how do we know? Because you go to a different culture, different country, and their truth is their truth.
And they're so much more family based. Have you noticed that America is very lackadaisical towards the family pursuits?
And it's more selfish, more like
it's all about doing your thing, like fucking.
But then I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying taking a step back and being like, oh, that's interesting, you know?
Absolutely.
That's the first step, you know, just being self-aware.
Absolutely.
And being like, yo, am I a part of the train? Even though we think we're outside of the train, you know?
It is quite a humbling thought.
Yeah.
Because you don't know.
You don't know. And then again, it's like, for me, I think nothing happens when you die. I think it's just whatever. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. If I decide to be on the train, to be the conductor, or to just jump off and be in a fucking, like, in the woods in Alaska, there's no wrong answer.
And I have a question for you about that.
Uh-huh.
Do you believe that you will go through something where you rethink that belief?
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course. I think that's part of being alive.
Yeah. What about when you're close to death?
Maybe.
Because that's got to be a humbling feat.
Yeah.
When you're looking at it, because everything in life, your mindset seems to vary so much based on how much like time you have.
Yeah.
Or how much like expendable resource you have, whether that be time, money, health, whatever it may be. It's how much expendable. My smoothie cup, my water. I feel a lot more comfortable with this water bottle right now than I will when it's down here. Like when it's down here, I'm going to be like probably wanting to fill it back up.
Yeah.
And if I look at this as like my life, well, it happens when life's down here. And there's no filling it up, at least in this realm that we know of. I think of death as like skydiving without a parachute.
Yeah, because you're living, you're thriving,
Or
you're falling,
or
and
life.
then
Life is just, and you're catching wind. You might be able to drift off.
There's those guys that have the wingsuits and like, but they're eventually gonna fall, right?
But everyone gets to the ground.
That's a great analogy.
Everyone gets there,
Yeah.
whether it be your generation or the hundreds before you.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a humbling thing. Like, we have to accept that eventually internally to move on.
Mhm.
But like, part of me worries because like, I've accepted it. But when's it's gonna reflash. It's gonna reflash when my water's gone.
Yeah.
Right now I'm like here. This is literally
that's where you're at right now.
That's
You're
about
like,
where I'm
you have
at.
so much life left. And
I
you're like,
literally only have like the bottleneck.
Yeah,
I've only learned
yeah.
this, and I have like fucking this.
yeah. So you have so much
But
more.
it's like, what am I gonna do with this?
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But you gotta be grounded. This substance, whatever life is so pure, and it's the most pure thing. It's better than gold, better than diamonds, better than anything. And it's like, what are you gonna do with it, man? Because we all get it. Why? I don't know. But what are you going to do with that substance? Are you going to waste it? You know, are you going to end up on that deathbed questioning your entirety? Are you going to think that you lived it for someone else?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to fucking be on that deathbed and ready to, move on, whatever that may be, or not? And that's a grounding thought in itself. I mean, I think about death every day, subconsciously for sure, multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it keeps me going.
Yeah, that must be the worst feeling, being on your deathbed and just like looking back and being like, what the fuck did I do? You know?
It's so easy to get like that.
Yeah.
Because I look back on the last 4 years of my life. I don't know, what the fuck did I do? So I think it's really easy because you're constantly growing. You're constantly trying to redefine like who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So like, my biggest fear is ending up becoming who I don't want to become and not knowing it until the end.
What's that? What don't you want to become?
I don't know quite certainly what I don't want to become, but it seems to be the case that I want to experience as much as possible.
Same. Yeah. That's always been my
Even if it's
mindset.
uncomfortable. Even if it's uncomfortable, it's still worth it. It's still worth it because why? The beauties, like those pearls in life that we all live for, they hide in that uncomfortableness. They really do. At least in my life. In my life, the most pinnacle, positive, necessary moments have occurred out of me putting myself in a situation where I didn't want to be.
Yeah, it goes back to that saying of like if there's no black, there's no white. Have you heard of that stuff? Like, if there wasn't
just
sadness,
the
there
idea
wouldn't
of
be
contrast.
happiness. Yeah, the idea of contrast.
Yeah, you shade the outside of a figure to kind of expose the interior of it. Like, you're shading on the outside and you don't know what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you have this thing that you've kind of exposed.
I think so. I mainly hear just like, you can't experience happiness without sadness, right? You can't experience night without day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like having that like kind of feedback in your life to like really understand things.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so necessary. Like, you will for sure become more knowledgeable by your pains, by your feats.
And then going into that idea of pushing yourself to be uncomfortable, right? You know, like,
Yeah, where does that become unhealthy? Because there are individuals that are sitting there doing Wim Hof's techniques. They're MMA fighters.
I mean, obviously, like, if you get pneumonia or you fucking like push yourself too far, but I'm talking about even simple things like, if you want to do comedy, that's gonna
comedy.
It's gonna feel like shit.
Comedy feels like shit. It really does.
Yeah,
it's the worst, but it's the best.
Yeah. So if you were so afraid, or if you weren't pushing yourself to be uncomfortable, that takes a certain person, right? And a lot of people don't push themselves to that.
And the way I've become who I've become is just by understanding that I'm in this experience and I want to get the most out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to fucking throw myself through the loop.
I always wanted to do comedy.
You should do it.
Yeah.
Come do some mics.
I'll be down. I'm down.
Come do some mics. It's very humbling.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
How long or how far along are you?
I mean, pretty much right after I came here, like right around that October area
Okay.
is
So
when I
was
started.
it like 6 months, 5 months? I think.
5. Yeah, we're at like
Hell yeah.
almost 5 months.
Have you seen an improvement?
I've seen an improvement, but I've also had to kind of focus on other parts of my life to continue the fucking vessel forward.
Yeah.
So there's been a bit of like a period where I've like had to focus my energy towards other things. But no, I've seen an improvement.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What is the vibe like? Because I know it's a whole, it's all comedians. I'm sure you've made friends.
Yeah, you
guys
can
hang
make.
out.
Yeah, they're just cold, man. Comics are funny because they're just real as fuck, and they're struggling. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they're made by any means, and you having to go up in front of them. A lot of like young comics are just hanging out with each other, like doing mics together, and really like they're each other's audience. So there's quite a bit of testability in that. There's quite a bit of no bullshit kind of mentality where you have to show up, put yourself on the line, be vulnerable, try to make people laugh, right? And fail. You're going to fail.
So obviously we're getting the mind of a comic right here. But what have you noticed hanging out with other comics? How do they think? Do they think the way you think? Do they see themselves as kind of different from everyone? Not in a egotistical way, but in a way of like, what the fuck is all this, right?
They're more so from what I've experienced, and I want to get to know them more, obviously, but they're more so just so in the moment around me that, like, I'm just happy that I'm around them, and they're not, like, cutting my head off or disassociating me from the rest of the group. So
that's good.
That's where I'm at with that. But there are some guys that I've come across, and I've come across, like, also more established comics going to the Comedy Store just as, like, an audience member.
Yeah.
And those guys are just in their own world. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with like Greg Fitzsimmons.
Yeah, he's been on Joe Rogan a few times, right?
Yeah, so he was just I was watching Ali Wong at the Comedy Store, and it's wild to interact with these individuals. And by interact, I really just mean like kind of walk by him, because like I was like vaping. I was ripping my vape in the store. And like a security guard came up to me and like, he's like, "Hey, come here," and he's like sitting there fucking talking to me all aggressively. But I looked to my right, and like Greg Fitzsimmons is right there. And I'm like, wow, Greg Fitzsimmons watched me get scolded at the store. So it's like, or like Ali Wong, I was seeing her that night, or Theo Vaughn, like all these cats that are just so in it. They're right there, just, doing their thing and figuring it out and understanding and bettering their craft. And it's such a beautiful thing to get to watch that. I've seen like Shane Gillis recently, and Tim Dillon, and even Rogan, like a lot of really, really established comics. And just like, I just think like even the opportunity to get to be around that is so special. It's such a perfect place and time. So I enjoy it, and that drives me to do it even more so.
You're gonna hate me, but I have to pee again.
Fire away.
Yeah, we'll call it a night.
I'm down to call it. Let's do it. I'll chug it right now.
Yeah, all right. Oh, damn.
Good shit.
All right, I'll take mine's a little slow. But all right, my guy. Joseph, thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the experience. You have quite the little setup here, and I think we had a pretty cool conversation.
Hell yeah.
So I'd love to come back whenever.
Let's do it. Awesome, man.
Yeah.